I'm with it. Ladies, y'all ready to start the discussion? Let's talk business. This is Wealthy Sis. I'm excited because, I've just been doing more homework on, women in business lately, because I think it was in the last episode that we had talked about how it was just within like the past 35 years that women were able to get credit cards in their own name without being married. So without being married and having their husband's approval for a credit card, So it's looking at little things like that where we feel like we're in such a progressive society, but there's still a lot of things that are against us when it comes to the workplace. What's good to know is that more people have been starting a business than ever. I know, like, for myself in doing business development during COVID was when I saw a spike in clients, and I thought it was dope. I was like, more people want to start businesses. Let's go. Let's start finding other ways to generate income. But there are struggles that come with that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into the episode. But I want to drop a few stats for the ladies tuning in. So studies show that 40% of U.S. businesses today are owned by women. And in 2021, women started, check this stat, 1,821 net new businesses every day last year. That means every day, some biz, New York business registration, South Carolina business registration, women were tapping in and registering businesses. That's lit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very empowering to hear that.
I love it.
Yeah.
While we're setting the pace, there's still a lot of challenges. And I know that for a lot of the clients that come to me for business development, they're normally in like the starting phases. Or some people, they know they want to start a business, but they're not sure what type of industry to go into. And that could be the hardest part. What type of business to start? So I wanted to ask you ladies, how did you go about determining the industry that you were ultimately going to go into when you decided to register your business? Because, you normally have an idea before you go and you click that registration. How did you get there?
Oh, well, I'll go first. Yeah. So with me, when I was in the military, I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I tested the waters and started a side business. I started a clothing boutique. I don't really tell nobody about this, but
okay, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So I started a clothing boutique, and I got basic information on how to start a business. I went to Las Vegas and did the little vendor event, the Big Magic show,
cool.
And and got clothes and stuff. And
nice.
And my to be honest with you, my son was helping me with this. Now, mind you, we knew nothing about business for real. Like, my dad had his own business, but I really never paid attention to it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But so I was trying to figure this out on my own, and I was doing a little research here and there. So finally, I was like, okay, let me get this LLC, let me get this website. So I did all the things, and of course, when the first, I don't know, but when business first opened up, you get that rush of people buying.
Yeah.
This is gonna
everybody's supporting you too.
Right. But I was still a soldier in the military, so I was trying to handle the business, the kids, and be a soldier. So
balance.
I was just got overwhelmed. Yeah. I felt like I got overwhelmed.
Understood.
And so I just closed it down. It only lasted a good 6 months. But and then I think that part of that is because I didn't build a foundation. The business foundation.
The foundation of
what
it.
I've learned now, if I had learned that before I started that, I think that I would probably still be in business with the boutique. It wasn't that it wasn't successful. I just didn't know what I was doing.
It was a learning curve though, because every time you start a new endeavor, you start to learn new things, and that ultimately helped to get you to where you are now.
Yeah, just jumping in it thinking that I could, this is going to be easy. Mm-hmm. But there was so much I needed to know.
It's humbling, right?
About keeping a business going, and about the money aspect of it, and about how, taking the money, putting it back into the business, how much I should be paying myself, all that stuff. I didn't know none of that. I was just I'm just keep buying inventory. I'm just keep buying inventory, and then so I started having inventory. I just had a liquidation sale on the inventory.
Yeah. At that point, you've got to get rid of it.
This time when I opened business, I built foundation. And I didn't just jump in, and I didn't just I'm going to go with this. I figured out what I really wanted to do. Because it changed about 3 times before I got started. I was like, I want to be a life coach. Then I was like, well, that's not really what I want to do.
So how'd you narrow it down and niche into self-care?
Because I prayed about it. I'm not even going to lie.
Okay.
I kept getting these visions about self-care. Then my mom passed away. So once my mom, it just kind of hit me she was getting ready to retire. And it was oh my God, all the plans she had because she was so worried about family, kids, and, you know, doing all the things.
Yeah.
She never did that stuff for herself.
Taking care of herself.
Yeah. Like, even when she went on vacation, she was more worried about her grandkids and everybody.
We are all guilty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that for some reason, I would take walks, I would run, and it was just knocking at my door. Like, I was like, I had got certified as a life coach. I had took all the classes.
Yeah.
Everything.
So you had already invested the time in the industry.
And life coaching, though, it was nothing about self-care. And it just kept going. And, you know, sometimes you're writing in your journal. And I went back and I started reading my journal now. And everything I wrote was self-care. It was never going the way of life
it just
coaching.
took you time to really see it.
Mindset shift and self-care. That was all it was, about changing your mindset. I kept thinking about how growing up, the things my mom would say, and I would be like, dang, it wasn't that she wasn't doing it. She just didn't know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It was all about learning these things because nobody ever taught her that, because she, you know, it's just from whoever you're raised. You know, as parents, we do the best we can with what we know.
With what we know.
And she just didn't know how to tell us to do that. So all of that brought it. Like, I tell people sometimes, I'd be like, honey, I am not the same person I was 3 years ago. My mindset has totally shifted. So that's how I actually got into self-care. It was something that God just put on me. It wasn't nothing that I was planning to do.
That's powerful, though, because you said a lot of key things. You said, one, that you prayed on it. You said, two, that you were taking the time to invest in yourself to get the knowledge, because it's not like you just decided I'm going to jump into self-care. You got licensed in, you know, in life coaching to be able to even figure out like how to properly talk to people and to encourage and motivate them. And then from that step, you were able to fine tune it and say, okay, this is the industry. That's powerful. So much that can be learned from that.
Yeah. I was like, this is my service back to people. And all those women that I've seen in the military that got out and they're sick and they can't do anything. And their whole life has changed because they never took care of themselves.
And you're setting the pace for also the families that are in the same situation, you know, military families and things of that nature.
Yeah, because it's crazy. You be like, you did 21 years and they be so sick, and, you know, because they never took care of themselves. They barely even went to the doctor. And we as females, that's a big problem in our Black community as a whole.
Josie, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Because you obviously got something on that. Like,
let's talk about like I want to kind of like merge you into the conversation, talk about your background, because I'm saying you did time. You didn't do time. Like, you put in work in the labor and delivery industry. I know you said you're studying like being a doula.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about it. I want to learn more about you. How did you get into cannabis? Yeah, so how did you get there?
How did you get to cannabis?
Oh, wow.
You wear scrubs every day. When I first met you out there, I was like, she wears a scrub every day. She's a nurse. Okay,
let's talk about it.
So I've been in the medical field for 20 years. I did 10 years working in labor and delivery unit as a cord blood collector. So what I used to do was talk to every mom in labor and delivery, or if they were coming for a C-section, and we would talk about preserving your cord blood and using it for, it does have stem cells in it that can be replicated, and you can use it to treat over 80 different diseases. So we would talk to moms about preserving it or donating it. And possibly save a life.
It's important.
It was very rewarding to see all of the units that we were able to use to save a child from like sickle cell and thalassemia or leukemia. So it was very interesting. It was very rewarding. And then I always wanted to be around babies. I mean, I have 4 kids, so... Little baby making machine. So I just love being around babies. And then I went and got a certification in being a birth doula because I wanted to do that too. So you always have to complete all these hours before, you know, you can go out there and practice on your own. So I got a little bit burnt out on that. But my mom, unfortunately, she got diagnosed with cancer. And then that kind of forced me to look up holistic ways to treat cancer versus doing like chemo and radiation all the time.
The medicines.
Because she had such a bad experience. Like with the first chemo, she died and they had to revive her just with one chemo. So I was like, okay, we got to look up there's ways to treat this. And I started looking up YouTube videos, and then I came across cannabis. And of course, I experienced it when I was younger and a teenager, but I did it for fun. I didn't do it for medicinal purposes. So when I started seeing this video of Rick Simpson and how he created his oils to treat his own cancer, then I was like, okay, God led me to this. I was a part of the stigma. I always thought everybody that used cannabis was using it for recreational reasons, just to get high.
Yeah.
And then that made me think like, okay, I was actually smoking with people that had medical conditions and didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people used it for anxiety and depression, stress,
so many
fibroids,
other
seizures, cancer,
pains,
MS, fibromyalgia. There's Crohn's also. A lot of people have been battling Crohn's disease, and people don't really talk about those things, even battling trauma. Like, I use cannabis myself. I'm an advocate. I'm a patient. I became a caregiver for my mom, by the way, and then she ended up using treatment for herself, and that helped her live longer. She lived 8 years, and unfortunately, she passed away 10 months ago. So had my mom not had cancer, I would have never gotten into the cannabis industry. But at the same time, I found healing for myself because I was able to heal my sexual childhood trauma that I experienced as a child. I was molested at the age of 5. And that trauma led to very, very, very toxic, traumatic relationships. And then later in life, I learned that it was a generational curse in my family. And my aunt, even when my mom was about to pass away, she was like, I was raped by my neighbor when I was 12. And my sisters have been in domestic abusive relationships, and I was as well. So that was like a turning point for me when I came to cannabis that helped me to realize like, wow, like I can use this to help treat my trauma. I can help use this for my PTSD, my anxiety, my seizures, my fibroids. Like, I'm using it for everything, and that's all I'm using. And it's all about learning how to dose and how to live and be responsible and use it and incorporate it so that you can have quality of life.
That's so important. One of the things I think is really cool, just to kind of bounce off of that for like our listeners who aren't well versed in like the medical marijuana in the cannabis industry. One of the things I think is really cool is like, since it did become, what's the word for it? Medically accessible, legal. Medically legal here in Florida, the dispensaries, I love the fact that you can walk into the dispensaries and you can kind of let them know like, hey, you can do like the consultations, let them know, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is my lifestyle. And they'll be able to make a recommendation for you. And they'll be like, hey, look, this, you can use these tinctures, and they won't give you like a head high, but they'll help to alleviate the pain. And I think being educated on like the different ways that you can utilize it and incorporate it into your lives is one of like the most important factors. And I know you said you're an advocate for it. So that's something that you're, it's your mission to get that information to the people.
Yes. I'm passionate about it everywhere I go. I always share my testimony. I share my experience. Like, hey, you can be a mom, you can own a business. I opened up my my business during COVID as well. Nice. And then I had my daughter help me do it because she opened up a business before I did, my 21-year-old. Cool. So I was like, I need your help. How do we get on SunBiz and do this? And she helped guide me. And so I'm grateful for that. And it's something that I was able to share with her. And yeah, she gives me guidance. So she's my business coach.
It's okay.
But look, I say the best business coach. I say the reason why people hire business coaches or they reach out to mentors is for the experience. It's not about the age. It's not about what you've been through, but it's the experience that you have within the industry. So if your daughter was experienced in the industry, she can provide, a lot of valuable knowledge for you. You know what I'm saying? Let's not knock it. However old she is, shout out to your daughter because I love that. I love that she's able to even, be able to do that for you.
Yeah.
So one of the other big challenges that, just from doing a little research that I feel like, but just also from research, like I said, that is something that a lot of women deal with is the fear of failure, because entrepreneurship and running a business is very risky. Y'all know it's risky. It entails a lot of unforeseen circumstances. Depends on the type of industry you get into. You might be taking more L's before you start taking wins because you will have to invest before you start to see the profit. So I'm wondering, like, I know, Samantha, you kind of led into how this wasn't your first business. You started off with a boutique. Josie, what about you? Were there any other business ventures that you tried out before you got into the cannabis consulting?
Yes, I did. Years ago when I was married, I had a a business. It was like a trucking business. So I was a subcontractor for Best Buy. So I was doing delivery of appliances, not me personally, but I had 2 employees. And we would deliver and install appliances and anything that you can buy at Best Buy. So a totally different shift, totally
cool,
different
though.
Mindset.
Yeah. Different mindset. I like that.
Yeah.
Because that's important too. What I think our listeners can take away from this is it doesn't matter like where you are at now, what business you're currently running now. There's always room for growth as you continue to grow and develop as a business owner. My first business, oh my God. So, okay. I came from a household of entrepreneurs. So like I started out testing like the theories of entrepreneurship very early before I even knew what it actually was. So like the first company I started, it was like a nonprofit company. It wasn't registered or nothing. I was just doing stuff because I was young. I'm just being real. But it was giving back to like parents in the community. So I had made a website and I had put a number on it. And I was like, if you need diapers and stuff like that in the neighborhood, I'll help you get diapers and stuff. And this was back in the day. I was probably like, I think I literally just turned 21. I remember because it was like one of the first times I had also went to the liquor store in my area. So I was 21, first business. I'm like giving back to families because I'm like, I'm doing all right now. I want to be able to help other people. Right. Very quickly got overwhelmed because I realized there was a very large need in society. Yeah. But I was young. So my second business was Forever Faithful Boutique. And this was fast forward about a year and a half. And I was like, I like lingerie. I'm going to do an online lingerie store. Yeah. And I got all this stuff wholesale. I set up a website. And I was like, nobody's buying from me though.
You didn't market.
I didn't market. But also at the time, I'm just going to I feel like the internet was also like fairly new. We were just on probably like Facebook, early stages, MySpace days.
MySpace? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So like this is before we had Squarespace and it was easy to make websites. I'm just being, you know what I'm saying? So through the growth and through transitioning, I'm like, I stopped starting businesses because I was like, okay, maybe I need to learn a little bit more about this. And that's when I fell into like web design, online marketing. And I was like, I started doing I've started taking like trade classes to learn how to be able to provide different services to people to make money at the time. Then I realized I wanted to take this a little bit further. So that's when I decided to enroll in school and go to school for small business management and entrepreneurship. So, it's not where you are right now, no matter how old you are, 21, 22, 16, 18.
Hey, I'm
Stay
40,
consistent
45.
Because through every lesson, through every lesson, there's room for learn, I feel like, in growth.
Yeah, definitely. Always room for growth. I feel like we should always be evolving and growing. That's how you learn. That's how you reach those goals and surpass them and create and open new doors for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's all about your mindset. Your mindset is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, changing your mindset. I always say, change your mindset, change your life.
Mindset over everything.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, because people think once they fail a business, then I'm going to fail all of them. They get that in their mind. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize maybe that failure was just to teach you a lesson so that when you open up the next business, that you'll know not to do it that way. Mm-hmm. There's always a lesson in everything you do.
Exactly.
So.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Are we going to take a moment to pay some bills? And we'll be back with Wealthy Sis Podcast after this.